So this is a game I played against Lathans, who's playing the 8th Mechanized Infantry, and I am playing KDA, the greatest meme division in the game. Um, it's really not that bad. A lot of people think it's pretty poor, but it's a pretty good deck. If you can understand its quirks, and it's got some strange quirks. I don't fully understand it either, but it ends up being a lot of fun. And for those of you who don't know, Lathans is one of the best players in the community. He's won the recent, which one was it? The WARNO Super tournament that was played in October. And, he beat T-Man. So, he's really good. And I'm playing one of the worst decks, according to T-Man. So, we get to have some fun with this. So, Lathans did a pretty interesting arrow rifle opener, probably to deal with the potential that KDA has for Spetsnaz forward deploy, but I kind of decided to go very slow and roll up with these T-55s, KDA Schützen, and just kind of hold onto this corner of the map here, where I also wanted to try and push was this forest. Because KDA's got such cheap units, you can kind of be in multiple places at once with small groups of units that are still pretty effective at pushing. And you can see here that, I've got Reservisten, PT-76s, and the commander behind him just to buff him up, along with the Spetsnaz. So from here on, I start kind of slowly pushing out here. You can see Lathans really doesn't have much going here, Jaeger Aufklauer and M150. But one of the things that Lathans does decide to do is buy this big howitzer, the M110A2. Now, this guy has so much HE power, it is ridiculous. It does eat a fair bit of supply, but as an artillery piece, it gets so many kills over the course of the game. Meanwhile, most of my T-55s die trying to deal with these M60s, as well as some infantry that he had pushed through. And for now, not much is going on. Lathans is bringing up a couple more M60s, and I had tried to sneak this Spetsnaz OP around the side here, because actually a tip Lathans gave me at one point is people tend to put their CVs right in this little corner, so I was thinking, maybe Lathans, had done the same thing, and I'd try and sneak around there. But, he's smarter than me. So he puts his right back here. It's an idea, right? Anyway, Lathan stills without easily with a Cobra, but right now it's just a stalemate. Neither of us are doing anything, except I'm making the slow push through the forest. And Lathans doesn't really know this is coming, aside from the one Aufklauer that he sent, and then this other Aufklauer that he's got moving right now, which is going to go over here, but he has nothing coming to really defend this area, except for this engineer dragon here, and okay, now he's got some mech rifle law and another dragon team coming. Meanwhile, in the middle of the map, we kind of had this duel with T-55s and mech rifles, so I was trying to defend myself from his push, and he has a big mech rifle push. And one of the nice things is we have these MiG-21 bombers that are able to come in and just wipe out mech rifle law squads, one-tap them pretty easily. Unfortunately, though, because he has such good infantry, not much else I can do about it. I just have to use these T-55s at range to keep them stunned, slowly do some damage to them, and eventually I get this Mi-24P helicopter up to do a little bit of damage, but Lathans is, not one of those people who doesn't keep his AA around. So, in the end, I try and bomb out one of his stingers to give myself some freedom with the helicopter, but the helicopter's already dead, and I lose the bomber in the end. So that was not nice. But meanwhile, I get to push in on this side, and I've got a tick against him. Well, actually, right now, I don't have a tick against him because I had to pull my UAZ out. But we have this point here, contested. and he doesn't really have much to push out of here against me. He buys a Cobra, but I'm not really too worried about that because I already had a bunch of Strelas ready for that. Unfortunately, though, my next bomber comes in, dies pretty foolishly. But because I don't take any quarter sort of ASFs in this deck, I always have a bunch of AA on the map. In this case, I had 2 books. So the F-16 that Lathans bought to counter that plane just kind of dies, a little unfortunately. At this point, though, I'm kind of panicking because I'm like, okay, I really need this tick against him, and he's pushing on me from pretty much all sides. And, well, I really needed something just to hold up the front. So I buy a lot of these KDA Schützen and try and just hold everything down. I also kind of made a mistake here. I don't think that it was a great idea to bring up another helicopter and all these Mi-2s, but it was something that, in the end, I just felt like I had to do in order to keep going and hold off the wave of infantry that's coming to kill the CV that he knows pretty much is in this corner of the chemical map here. Meanwhile, Lathans has got a nice bit of AA up. He's got this one IHawk, this one OH-58C, which is an excellent unit because the Stingers just, they really don't miss too much. In this case, it did miss, but they really do a good job of finishing off planes that the IHawk does not kill. Meanwhile, I moved up my KDA Schützen a bunch. Lathans still has not done much on his back point. He's got a few tanks up, but he decides instead he's going to bring in a bunch of M1s and M60s for the middle. And instead, I just use this MiG-27M to pretty much remove them straight up. Like, he doesn't have the AA forward enough to prevent this. He does have the AA in the rear to punish it in the end, but unfortunately, that plane is very, very good at removing enemy vehicles. And I brought up a couple of T-61s, or T-62 M1s, excuse me, just to cover up my mid and make sure that I have some more fire support for all of these KDA Schützen, Mach-Schützen, Reservisten that are coming in to push up. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Lathans is starting to push in, see what's going on, and he's got this horde of infantry that he's got ready to come in. A bunch of Engineers Flash, a bunch of Mech Rifles Law, just an absolute horde of units, which he is going to shortly use to push up and try and remove me from this area. Now, obviously, he tries to use these Cobras, like we were talking about earlier, though. I had a bunch of Strela 2Ms ready for, well, the inevitable Cobra coming. And I had purchased these 2 T-62Ms to hopefully use their bastions and keep, well, prevent the M1 Abrams from rolling over me. But in the end, KDA has such a great air tab that I was able to bring in, because I was floating, unfortunately, an Su-27 and a cluster bomber in order to deal with the M1 rush here. Now, though, I see that this gigantic force of units is coming up. Luckily enough for me, though, I was able to kill these M1s by basically force driving up a couple T-55s and using the T-62Ms to finish the job. But Lathans comes in, and tries to murder all of my units here with Thunderbolts and LGB bombers. Gets the T-55s, which is really frustrating, because I was really wanting to use those T-55s to try and keep pushing down this road. And if you see here, like, if these Thunderbolts didn't come in, this Mutt would have died and would have been able to get a really solid tick. But this huge force of units is coming in. Unfortunately, his Thunderbolt doesn't really get much value in this part of the battle, but this infantry just keeps coming, right? Not much else going on. It just keeps coming. I try and use a cluster plane to kill the Thunderbolt, but it doesn't really work very well. I do end up clustering out some of these infantry squads, which forces Lathans to retreat. It doesn't do much damage, but I was in a bit of a panic, and I needed something to deal with the blob. On the other side, though, I also made a horrible mistake and tried pushing out with some of the infantry I had here, figuring, okay, Lathans just bought this huge blob of infantry on this side. He must be a little bit weaker in the middle, and I knew I had a lot of units here. So, attempt to push, but in the reality is, most of these units just end up dying. There's not much of anything gained here. I was able to remove another M60 with the MiG-27M, which has such a great ATGM missile. But in the end, not much goes on here. Kind of just a failed push. And Lathans is able to exploit the fact that I made a push to try and make his own counter push. So this is something that Lathans does very well, is when you push him, he absorbs it, and then he comes in with a counterattack right away. On the other side of the map, not much going on. Lathans is kind of held up here. Doesn't really have to move forward. He's kind of waiting for me to make a move. Because, well, his whole goal really is to take over the middle of this map. Excuse me, there's going to be a bit of a jump in the recording there. He is very successful at it, though. You see that he's got these M67 patrols, MP patrol units, which are really, really good. One of the nice parts about them is because MP units can buff each other, this MP patrol buffs this guy with the MP trait, so they don't take quite as much suppression damage over time because they're able to regen it faster. And he's able to remove my CV. Now, this is where I end up having a real big problem, is I don't have a CV right here. So I'm going to sit here waiting on the Spetsnaz commander to show up. He's just got this lovely tick against me. I'm able to push in on the other side against his Engineer's Flash, just pushing forward with these KDA Schutzen. I eat all the Engineer Flash rockets with the KDA Schutzen for the most part. But Lathans has got this HEMTT and was constantly firing with this artillery piece. In this case, he was trying to kill my Book, but I already moved it. Now, unfortunately, this T-62 eats a lot of lob shots, but it does not die, which is very good. Able to save it and just pull it back. Here's the smoke for it, and he just kind of reduns away. Does the usual, and we save him for a bit. Eventually, I found this Jaeger Aufklärer here with the Spetsnaz squad, and was just like, what on earth is going on here? Why does that exist? But, yeah. In the middle, Lathans doesn't have any armor, but that doesn't really matter for him because, well, my infantry can't really straight up fight his, especially not with him in the building. And at this point, I have a tick going just because I'm holding on to the middle, and I've got my commander in his point. There was a point right here where he just kept charging his mech rifles forward, and I knew that he wanted to LGB the Spetsnaz commander, which is why I just kept running it away. He wasn't able to maintain vision, but this kept up being a constant problem. Is my MiG-27s kept getting his tanks, so it ended up being an infantry fight out here where he really needed that extra fire support from the tanks to make it really, really efficient. These units do get a lot of value, killing a bunch of units and then being able to pull back, supply, rinse and repeat. But in the end, Lathans continues to just push through the center here and try and eliminate my CVs, which he does successfully here. Unfortunately, at some point, my CV decided to get inside of the BTR-60, and so it dies to some kind of AT rocket, probably from this Jaeger Alpha Cloud here. At this point, though, Lathans does a smart thing and scouts this right-hand side of the map, seeing that I have nothing defending this. I had this PT-76 in the corner here, which I had originally wanted to use to defend this point as well, but I moved it a little too far forward. And at this point, Lathans has a lot of things going for him. I might have a lot of units on the map, but they're not really quality units. A lot of them are really cheap. Not much I can really do with them. And because, like I said earlier, Lathans scouted this spot with this recon unit, he's able to drive this mutt straight into my back point. And even if I get a CV in here and maintain my CV over here, there's really not much I can do at this point. Like, I had panic bought a bunch of KDA Furies to spread out. Yeah, and to end this up, with my back point capped and these Spetsnaz basically about to die, there's not much else we can really do at this point. Lathans finishes off the CVs in the middle, spots this KDA Fury, kills it, and that pretty much ends the game. Eventually, I think we kill this mutt. And he might lose this Fighting Falcon, I can't quite remember. Yep, he does, I'm pretty sure. Nope, he doesn't. No one lives. But at this point, he's also really low on infantry. Finishing up with these Engineers Dragons and spamming a bunch of ACAV scouts through the middle. And in the end, you know, Lathans is able to win the long game. Give him a good run for his money, but you know, mistakes were made somewhere in the mid game, and he was really able to push forward. But I hope this goes to show that, you know, KDA can be a fun deck to play, and on some maps can be pretty competitive. It's got a lot going for it in its infantry tab, and Books are awesome, deal with planes pretty well, and in blobs, T-55s are really good. I'll put the link to the Twitch VOD for where this game actually had, so you can see what I was doing live. Thanks for watching, and catch you guys later.